Hello, sinners. How are ya? On today's installment of the Letterboard of Truth, our quote of the day is, "Eat the rich." Need I say more? Would you be surprised if I told you that someone who grew up in an extremely wealthy family is out of touch with the struggles of everyday people? Well, you shouldn't be. And if you are, you won't be by the end of this video. And to all the naysayers who'll be like, oh, so you hate seeing people succeed. Well, maybe if you worked hard and picked yourself up by your bootstraps, you can be a billionaire too. I have nothing to say to you. Instead, I have a gift. It's brand new and everything. It's a tongue scraper. It might come in handy for all the bootlicking you've been doing. Today, we'll be reacting to yet another Jubilee video called I'm the Son of a Billionaire. Ask me anything. Just knowing the very privileged position this guy is in, I sincerely hope that he will show some self-awareness, maybe even some humility, but this little text bubble right here has me a bit wary. In case you're unaware, Jubilee has an ongoing series called Ask Me Anything, where strangers interview people from different backgrounds or people who've had unique life experiences. For example, recently Jubilee has done AMAs with a burn victim, a human trafficking survivor, an intersex person, and a North Korean defector. I haven't watched the Jubilee video in its entirety, but I believe Dana Gonzalez made a video about the billionaire's son Bobby a while back, and I remember thinking that this guy was a bit of an ass. Tad pretentious even, but I'm very eager to see if Bobby has changed in the past 4 years. But before we begin, I would like to wish you a happy Valentine's Day, sinners. Smell that? That's right, love is in the air, as well as multiple orgasms, courtesy of today's sponsor, LELO. Yes, I am wearing my different shirt, but I also dress for the occasion, so you're welcome. It's the season of love. Whether it's romantic love, platonic love, or even self-love, it's important to celebrate love in all its forms. No matter your relationship status this Valentine's Day, you can always enhance your experience with LELO. Solo pleasure is a normal and healthy way for everyone to explore their own bodies and sexual desires. Orgasms are actually really good for your mental and physical health. Adding sex toys into the mix is just one of many ways to spice up your me time. Sex toys can help you learn more about what you like and don't like, and it could also lead to better sexual experiences with partners. So it's important to explore different options and listen to your body to find what feels good. This is the Sona 2 Cruise. This enhanced sonic clitoral massager delivers powerful yet reserved sonic waves to stimulate the entire clitoris, even the parts you don't see, for a sensation unlike any other. You can flip through 12 vibration settings to find the mode that feels just right, and you get more than 200 orgasms per charge. That's a lot of coming, baby. The Sona 2 Cruise is made with LELO's classic body-safe design and has a softer, deeper, and overall bigger mouth for complete satisfaction both inside and out. Even better, LELO is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. Next year, LELO can go out and buy a drink, and then 4 years after that, LELO can rent a car without paying a young driver's fee in the United States. That's pretty cool. To celebrate 20 years of leadership, excellence, and revolutionizing the sexual wellness industry, LELO is offering discounts on a plethora of their products. So celebrate love this Valentine's Day, reconnect with yourself and your significant other, and seize great discounts LELO has to offer for their 20th birthday. And make sure to check out the great discounts LELO has to offer by clicking the link at the top of the description. By supporting wonderful brands like LELO, you're also supporting creators like myself, so thank you in advance if you decide to check out LELO's sweet discounts. Anyway, let's get back to your scheduled programming. Welcome back from the ad break. I'm happy to see you're still here. Let's begin.
If you were alone in a room with the son of a billionaire, what would you ask?
I would ask him where he got that V-neck, because that is the V-est V-neck I've ever seen in my life. Just cleavage out and all in a Jubilee video.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
Do I shake
Yo.
hands?
What's up, bro?
What's your name?
I'm Bobby.
Can I give you a gift?
Aww.
Yeah. Wow, thank you. Amazing.
Yeah, I got them at the dollar store for you, so I hope you
Oh, wow.
like it.
Cool. I appreciate
He's probably thinking dollar store. What's that? Oh, a dollar bill. You mean like the paper I used to wipe my ass?
What does your dad do?
He started off in the music industry. He started basically the biggest like creative media college, teaching like music production, sound engineering, and now he has like a flight school as well, and like recording studios and real estate, obviously.
Obviously. But it's crazy though. Like, you think the singers and, musicians and artists we see on screen make a lot of money? Just think about the people behind the scenes.
What industry are you in?
I'm a film director and a YouTuber. On YouTube, I make like sort of like short films about my life.
Film director. Let's see how much of a film director this guy is. Bobby Billionaire. Okay, here he is. Love life of a billionaire's son with literal ass cheeks in the thumbnail. Tarantino is shaking right now.
Are you single?
Yes.
Is that Ash Nico? Maybe it's just the blue hair, but she kind of looks like Ash Nico.
Oh,
Okay.
no, I'm not.
Damn.
Actually, I was saying yes because you gave me the flowers, but no.
I was saying yes because I wanted these cheap dollar store flowers, you peasant.
That's okay. I barely like guys anyway.
I feel you.
How does the amount of money you have affect how you interact with women?
This should be good.
I guess it's given me the ability to abuse my position, especially like, with like going out and partying and the nightclub scene and stuff where it's like, I could hook up with like models. And obviously that was like super cool when I was like 18 to like 21.
Why would you freely admit that? I mean, I appreciate the honesty that he's giving us today. He's just saying the quiet part out loud. I don't know why I'm acting surprised because we know that rich people do this, but like to just freely admit that you're able and you do. Wow. Wow.
I don't need a girl to like me and to be in a relationship with. Like, I just need like a girl who's gonna be like super hot and act as like, an accessory. But
Accessories, huh? People do that all the time. Just look at Fresh and Fit and Andrew Tate, but, well, before Andrew Tate was in prison, but... My man right here is really saying the quiet part out loud. I have to give it to them though. Like, he's not holding back. I appreciate the rawness of this video.
Who's the most famous person that you've ever got with?
Lindsay Lohan.
He slept with the Lindsay Lohan, Katie Heron from Mean Girls, Anna from Freaky Friday, Annie James and Hallie Parker from The Parent Trap. He got with the Lindsay Lohan.
Wow.
We need to hear this story.
I was like, I met her at the Cannes Film Festival, and I ended up, I passed out on her couch, and she woke me up.
On
and I
Lindsay
was like,
Lohan's couch?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my-
That's wow.
I also wanted to ask what your relationship was like with your parents growing up.
My dad was like not around really. He was just building like this empire. So he was traveling around the world. Like, I never just would see him like once a year. That kind of made him like this mysterious like icon in my life. Like, this guy who was like traveling around the world and like just making it happen. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I expected as well. Like, I would imagine a businessman making that much money would be busy all the time and not really prioritize his family, which I guess it was a good thing that he was bringing in so much money to be able to take care of his family, but nothing beats an emotional connection with your children.
But then my mom was like really like the one that, raised me, taught me everything I know about compassion and love and being kind and fair.
Do you think that people discredit your talent and hard work because of you and your family's money?
Every single day of my career as a filmmaker, I think the way I make my success my own is like with my creativity and my talent, rather than focusing on, trying to make a bunch of money, because I feel like my dad already did that.
So with this, I guess he would be considered a Nepo baby because his dad is in the entertainment industry, which like, I know there's this debate with Nepo babies a few months back, but like, I don't think Nepo babies shouldn't be like excluded from roles or like be shamed for like pursuing a similar path to like their parents who are already famous in the industry, as long as they recognize their privilege. I guess two things can be true at once. Like, Bobby can pursue his talents and creativity and passion, but also acknowledge that, yeah, he's a little privileged. He just has a father with a few $1 billion in the bank, but besides that, he's just like your regular guy.
What is your daily routine?
It's very varied for me. Sometimes like I'll have something that I'm working towards, like one project, and it'll be like a full day of like working really hard and like doing a whole bunch of stuff.
Cool. So he does stuff. Great. Really awesome insight.
How do you feel when you see like a poor person on the street?
I've experienced that. I did a show where I was homeless for 3 nights. The people that I knew that I met on the show.
All right, here we go. Now the privilege is really shining through Bobby's personality. To equate doing like a YouTube show where you try out homelessness for a few nights is anything equal to a person actually living on the streets is delusional. You are detached from reality, my friend. This is nothing like actual homelessness people experience. Like you have a camera crew with you, and after 3 days, you're able to go back to your cushy lifestyle. Meanwhile, people on the streets, they can't do that. So to say that your experience of being homeless, which is really just bullshit for 72 hours, to compare that to the devastation that is homelessness, at least in this country, is just mind-blowing.
They kind of wanted to stay there because they could make 60 pounds in a day. So for them, they were like, why would I go and work when I can just sit here and put my head down and cross my legs and get 60 pounds? They're gonna go buy weed, alcohol, and they were like, bro, they had more food than they needed.
I don't like this attitude of Bobby's where he's like shaming homeless people for allegedly buying a lot of alcohol and a lot of weed and having too much food on their hands. Obviously, I'm not promoting that the homeless do drugs or drink alcohol, but I think there should be more programs to help the homeless get out of their situation, help them get clean, help them find jobs, help them find housing. But our society hates poor people. That's just the reality. Our government would rather give tax breaks to billion-dollar companies than help the homeless on the streets or help struggling people in our country.
Don't you feel like you could do like a little bit more because you have that money?
When I see poor people, like, sure, like maybe I want to help them, but like how? The world isn't a fair place. Like I don't have time to spend my entire day going around like looking after homeless people. That's not who I am. I'm focused on like building stuff and helping people that want to change their lives and they want to do something positive for the community.
I don't have time to focus on these peasants, lady. I have a YouTube empire to build. I have to add more asses to my thumbnails so they get clicks, so they get another 66,000 clicks. At the end of the day, this is a systemic issue. To say that you can't do anything or you can only do minimal to help out is kind of a excuse in my opinion, given the amount of money you come from. I think he's kind of giving a cop-out answer in my opinion. He's basically saying that he doesn't help as many low-income folks as he should in his area because he's too rich and he doesn't have time for that, but he wants to inspire other people to help in their community. Like, bro, why don't you practice what you preach first? My God.
Do you think that billionaires should exist?
No.
Yeah, I think it's great because there's a reason that people become billionaires. It's not like you're a billionaire now. You know what I mean? Like they take it.
Like, bro, it's just because you're not working hard enough. You know, maybe if you exploited low-income people like other billionaires do, maybe you would also be a billionaire. I mean, the reason why you're a billionaire now is because your father is a billionaire. And to say that someone is not rich because of their own doing when you being rich is not because of your own doing is highly, highly hypocritical, sir.
And the reason that they are where they are is because they're people that worked extremely hard and they've done something exceptional for the world.
Not to deny or invalidate anyone's hard work, even a billionaire's hard work, we have to acknowledge that a lot of rich people, if not most rich people today, are where they are because they were born into a very privileged family. They were born into a position of privilege. For example, the reason why Elon Musk is where he is because he was born into a very wealthy family and his father invested in an emerald mine in Africa. I'm not saying hard work doesn't equal being rich because I'm sure there are a lot of rich people who've worked hard to get where they're at, but let's not act like merit is the only reason why people become billionaires.
As you said, that's great and that they take. So I don't know about how great it is that they take something.
It's there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the system that we've created to, you know, make society and make things work.
Just like take the money. It's right there, dude. It's right there, bro. You're just not looking. In my case, it's my father's money, but I took it. You know, his wallet's right there. Like, bro, shut up. You're making yourself sound like an ass right now. Billionaires don't get to where they are without exploiting people.
But do you think that system is exploited usually by these people?
Yeah, I think if you want to get to a certain level, you do have to exploit the system in a certain way. You can't just play completely fair because otherwise you're not going to get there. There's a lot of billionaires who do a lot of great things and they employ thousands of people and they're really, really good bosses. You know, especially when you see people that have built it up ground up like Elon Musk, or like there's so many that are self-made. It gives people, I feel like, the ambition and they feel like they can do it.
Elon Musk was not self-made.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Saying Elon Musk is self-made is like saying Kylie Jenner is self-made. These people were born into privilege. Of course they're gonna live lavish lifestyles as an adult. Don't get me wrong, I think it's great that billionaires provide jobs for people, but a lot of the times those jobs don't really pay that well. But even so, like, I guess seeing billionaires gives people motivation, but if we're being realistic here, most of us are closer to being homeless than to being a billionaire. I think these extremely wealthy people sell this idea that you can be where I'm at, you just have to work hard, when that's not true for most people. Like, most of us will not be billionaires in our lifetime. That's just the fact.
How do you tip?
I think here it's like very much so like this big tipping culture. And a lot of the time I'm like, bro, like for like Uber Eats, like I'm not tipping, I'm sorry.
So you're telling me you have all this money, all of your father's money, and you could probably afford to order DoorDash, Uber Eats, Postmates for every meal for every day of the week, but you can't be bothered to throw a $10 bill at the Uber driver? Not a literal $10 bill, obviously, that's demeaning, but I mean, in general with tipping culture, I'm also against it, but hear me out, hear me out. I don't think tipping culture should be a thing because I think we should already be paying people livable wages. Workers who are in fields that accept tipping and rely on tipping, like waiters and waitresses and DoorDash drivers and stuff like that, they shouldn't have to rely on the generosity or lack of generosity of the general public. Instead, these companies should just be paying their workers fairly. And you'd be surprised, or not, I guess, but a lot of people are bad tippers. I like to pride myself on being a good tipper. I always tip 20% whenever I go out. But my philosophy is with tipping and eating out, if you don't want to tip, if you don't have the money to tip, don't go out to eat, all right? Make some pizza bagels in your oven at home instead of screwing over a waiter or an Uber Eats driver out of a tip.
I know they're getting paid to be an Uber Eats driver, and it's like taxes, fees, delivery fee, surcharge on the food. It's like, bro, I'm not made of money. I'm not like just giving it out.
You're not giving it out, you're paying for a service. So what are you even saying, dude? But a lot of that doesn't go to the Uber Eats driver. Am I wrong? Let's look this up, actually. Okay, so according to this article, an example of take-home pay using Los Angeles rates, $2.50 pickup plus 60-cent mileage, 3 miles at 20 cents a mile, $3 drop-off fee equals $6.10, minus Uber's 25% fee, total payout is $4.58. So already off the bat, Uber Eats drivers are getting 25% cut from their take-home. Plus, if you don't get a tip or you get a shitty tip, that's like $4.50 for doing that work. I don't think that's fair. And plus, bro, you're the son of a billionaire. You can't bother to tip the DoorDash driver like $10, $15 or 20% depending on how much your order was. Like, you are actively screwing over working class people.
Like, just like very briefly, I did try working for like Postmates. It's just like a one-time trip just to see how it was. And they pay really, really low. Like, it wouldn't even make like minimum wage for like...
Right.
He can do Uber Eats for 3 days, like he pretended to be homeless for 3 days, and say that he's also part of the working class. Brilliant.
Hero or villain?
Villain for sure.
Why?
Yeah.
I feel like their life is generally cooler and they don't have to accommodate for as many people. They sort of just look after themselves and like have a lit time, and like the Joker, like, bro, he's having a fantastic time.
Yeah.
He's just having fun.
Anytime a man brings up the Joker, red flag. Immediate red flag.
I'm saying everyone else is panicking, like, oh my God, save the world, and he's just like laughing, so.
The fact that he can relate to the Joker, that flag is redder than the background.
Would you consider yourself you're the villain in your own life?
Yeah, I'd say I consider myself a villain, but it's like a necessary evil in life. Because without it, then there isn't the good guys, you know what I'm saying? So
At least he's honest. He's at least self-aware in that aspect.
I've seen your Instagram. Is this you?
yeah.
So
Not the purge mask. Is that a purge mask? Hold on. Or am I just completely messing that up? Oh, okay, so I'm just completely off. Cool.
what do you think about that mask? What does it mean to you versus like obviously what it means to other people and how it doesn't really represent? I mean, it all seems kind of non-specific because that mask has like meaning to it though, is what I'm saying.
I'm on like the people's side at the same time as like, I'm like, oh, I'm like, have like this big situation, like my father's super wealthy and everything, But for me, it's like, I feel like I'm on the side of the people.
But you can't be asked to give a $5, $6 tip because you feel like that's just giving out your money. Screwing over the working class. Yeah, I don't think that's being really for the people, sir.
That's like my ultimate goal is to help out the people that I feel deserve it.
Shut up. He'll have these moments where he's like super authentic and like shows who he really is, saying the quiet part out loud. But then he's like, yeah, I'll help people. I'll just help people who I feel like deserve it. And it's like, dude, either go full super villain or not.
What have you done that has been like the most impactful for you or like the world?
I think inspiring people through my videos. I get so many messages saying like how I've inspired them and how I've like showed people how to make videos in a certain way.
Oh yeah, I'm sure the $1 million wardrobe video is very inspirational. Truly just the philanthropist of the world. Like, yeah, maybe you are posting aspirational content because I'm sure his viewers do want to be rich just like him, but you're not providing anything of substance. You're just showing off your flashy lifestyle. You're not really teaching anything. You're just kind of like, hey, I'm rich. You should be too, just get money.
With charities, I've always seen it as like this, like you give money to a charity and then what, it just disappears.
That's, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What I like is like you personally doing something to someone and then you see their actual reaction and the results of what happens then.
Okay, that's a fair point. I will give it to him and agree with him there, just because I found in my own research that it's better to just give directly to the community that you're trying to help as opposed to just relying on a charity to give funds to who knows where. And however, I just want to say I'm not too educated on charities though. You know, the aspect of what I just said, this is just basic knowledge of what I've seen, what I've read in places. So if you have more knowledge in that department, please let me know whether I'm right or wrong. I would love to hear either way. So I'm sorry if I fudged anything up.
Do you ever worry about losing your wealth?
Yeah, money when I was, I guess like 16 to like 21, I just wanted to spend anything as much as I could.
To flex or like for
fun?
fun?
To flex. You know, you'd end up spending everything on something expensive and then have absolutely no money at all and be living breadline until you got your allowance the next month.
Yeah, I could see that. I think flex culture at one point had a huge impact on social media where all these influencers felt like they had to buy these designer bags, shoes, clothes, jewelry, expensive cars and stuff like that just to seem as like worthy or cool and stuff like that. I think it's died down since the pandemic because I don't think people want to see rich people showing off their wealth. And I think wealthy influencers and celebrities are starting to pick up on that. But what's your allowance, Bobby? How much do we want to guess his allowances per month? I'm gonna say $2,000 a month. I think that's a safe guess. But comment your predictions below and let me know if you were right.
How much was your allowance?
It's like $2,000 a month. Like my dad's always.
There we go. I was right. I nailed it on the head. That's like people's rent money. What else can you get for $2,000? You can get 2,000-ish things from the dollar store, depending on taxes. But yeah, that could cover people's bills for like a month or two. And you're just getting that per month for what? Like, it's not a ton of money, but $2,000 can make a difference in many people's lives. So that's like $24K a year being the offspring of a billionaire.
My dad's always said like, you know, that's all you get.
That's all you get.
That's all you get. That's it. All right. We don't want to spoil you or anything. He had maybe one base take in this entire video. But like, God, it's just his whole attitude is just so detached from reality. And like, I guess I can't blame him fully because that's the environment he grew up in. That's all he knows. All he knows is being from a rich family and having everything handed to him. I don't know. He's an adult now. It's kind of up to him to educate himself and to acknowledge his very privileged existence. Obviously, it's not this dude's fault for being born into a wealthy family, but like, you gotta at least try to bring yourself back down to earth, buddy.
If I have like an idea that is gonna make money, then he'll give me money for that. He doesn't like to he's not like other parents where he'll just give me money because like, oh, I wanna go on holiday.
He's not the type of parent to just give me money, but he also gives me $2,000 a month and also money for any project that I wanna pursue. But he doesn't give me money though.
What would you say is the hardest part of your life?
Living up to my dad, I like always have been in like that shadow. Mm-hmm. And like everyone's always sort of told me like you'll never be as good as him or you never do what he did. I just wanted him to be proud of me. So like what I wanted to do was do something solely creative, which was, you know, being a film director and a YouTuber.
I know I've poked fun at him a lot, But I can only imagine the amount of pressure that Bobby's under. And I'm not being a Bobby apologist, but I'm saying it must be a lot of pressure to be the only man in your family beside your dad and having to try to live up to that. Obviously, his situation is different because he's in a higher tax bracket than most people will be in their lifetimes, but I think we can all relate to the feeling of feeling like we have to live up to certain expectations or feeling like we have to impress someone and not really pursuing the things we want to do, just trying to do things for the sake of impressing people instead of doing things for ourselves. I think this is the most genuine Bobby has been throughout the entire video. I just wish he was more like this within the other topics that were covered.
My dad's actually a billionaire as well.
Wow, yeah.
So we're actually in the same boat here.
Wow.
That's lit.
Yeah.
That's lit.
So I kind of get everything you're coming from.
There you go. I was waiting for this. I knew you guys are going to pull this out the hat.
Yeah.
Are you in college right now?
No, I don't even go to school. I just kind of living life, doing YouTube, traveling, having fun.
Well, it's lit. We should make some videos together.
Yeah, I'm
right?
down.
If like your dad gives you a bunch of money, don't blow it on stupid shit.
Oh, yeah.
Invest
sure.
it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I wish I fucking like with my trust fund had bought Bitcoin or something.
Not the trust fund.
What'd you blow all that money on?
Fucking nothing. Like, bro, literally like 30K a month on Amex. Like staying at the Beverly Hills Hotel for 2 weeks in a row. Like
30K a month, bestie?
You know what I'm saying? Paying for all my friends, like,
right.
Like booking like a first class flight.
Oh, you pay for your friends, Bobby? Aren't you just giving out money? How do you know they deserve to get your money? All right, well, that's Bobby for you. He's just about as out of touch as I expected. He didn't exceed my expectations. He didn't surprise me. He met me where I'm at. You know, he's still, I don't know how old he is. How old is he? Okay, so he's 27, so he's an adult. He's like prefrontal cortex adult. But yeah, dude, there's a world outside of daddy's money. Most people actually do not have it as lucky as you are. Be grateful for what you have. And, you know, maybe a reality check or two wouldn't hurt. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think, though. I'm sure you will have a lot to say in the comments. So please feel free to leave any and all your thoughts. If you would like me to talk about another Jubilee video in the future, or in general, if you'd like to see me talk about anything in particular going forward, I have a Google form linked in the description where you could submit your video ideas. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a tiny thumbs up and subscribe down below. Thank you to LELO for sponsoring today's video. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time with a brand new video. Bye!